Culture, according to Merriam-Webster, has three definitions: the beliefs, customs, and arts of a particular society, group, place, or time; a particular society that has its own beliefs, ways of life, and art; a way of thinking, behaving, or working that exists in a place or organization, such as a business. So how on earth did our popular culture, a phenomenon with no definition in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, become so dominant? That is the million-dollar question. It appears the United States of America has a crisis on its hands, and I'm not talking about ISIS or Ebola. When interviewed about popular celebrities, 5 out of 5 students could recognize a picture of the person, state their name, and list why they're famous. When asked the same questions about major American politicians, 5 out of 5 came up blank. Even a certified voter, when it was cast their poll many times, could not answer a question about our vice president. Yes, there's definitely a crisis in America. Maybe if our priorities were just a tad more in line, then we might just realize how fortunate we are to have such wonderful politicians.
David, do you know who this man is?
Is it President Clinton?
No.
Then no.
Alright, do you know who this person is?
No.
Okay. Alright, I am here with the Brucci today and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
Alright, do you know who this is?
Ariana Grande.
What is she famous for?
Singing.
That is correct. Alright, do you know who this is? Alright, hi, I'm here with Abby today and I'm going to ask her a couple of questions. Do you know who this man is?
Yes,
Who is it?
Alex from Target.
Oh. Why is he famous?
Because people think he's attractive.
Okay. Let's see. Do you know who this man is?
No?
Do you want to guess why you would know who he is?
Well, he was a president, I'm assuming.
Okay.
So how did we let this happen? For starters, the average American spends 3.2 hours on social media a day, according to the new research released by Ipsos Open Exchange O2X. And that's not even counting the media updates that conveniently pop up at the lead that leads to you taking a 5-minute Instagram pic, or the games that we all spend time on like Candy Crush. All of this talk about social media is fogging up kids' minds, and there are multiple definitions to the term social media floating around on the internet. The definition offered by Ray Jones states that social media is essentially a category of online media where people are talking, participating, sharing, networking, and bookmarking online. Most social media services encourage discussion, feedback, voting, and comments, or sharing of information from all interested parties. As Joan points out, social media is a two-way conversation that allows people to stay connected or linked to other sites, resources, and people. The keywords being stay connected. Social media is even affecting adults' priorities. During the past century, voting percentages have declined a great amount due to social media screwing up people's priorities. Supposedly, the Senate has been the lowest turnout in years. The abysmally low turnout in last week's midterm elections, the lowest in more than 7 decades, was bad for the Democrats. It was even worse for democracy. In 43 states, less than half of the eligible population bothered to vote, and not in the 3 largest states, California, Texas, and New York, less than a third of the eligible population voted. New York's turnout was a shameful 28.8%, the 4th lowest in the country, despite 3 statewide races, including the governor, and 27 House races. Overall, the national turnout was 33.3%. Only the 1942 federal election had a lower participation rate at 33.9%. I wonder if social media has anything to do with that.
America, we're the country of the free and the home of the brave. One would think that this would make us one of the most put together countries. And in some ways we are. But have you ever stopped to think that we take our freedoms for granted? America is a constitutional republic. This means that the head of the state and other officials are representatives of the people, us, such as governors and senators. We should treat this like a gift, but we don't. One of the original reasons the Pilgrims came to America in the first place is so they could have the freedom that we now have today. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln said it best in his famous speech, the Gettysburg Address. He says that from these honors dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. What Abraham is highlighting here is that men fought and died for us to have a government that is for the people, not for the dictator or for the king. So many other countries don't have nearly as much say in their politicians as we do. So why is it that when we showed several voters pictures of running and recent runners, 2/3 of them couldn't identify them? The statistics were even worse for teens between the ages of 13 and 15. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should know every state senator's name and address, but shouldn't you know who represents our state? You have the right and the responsibility to.